What if I told you the same institutions that tanked your 401k in 2008 are now quietly buying the one crypto that could rebuild your retirement without you even knowing it? Hedera's CEO just dropped a warning, and if you ignore it, it could cost you everything. Because while Americans fight inflation, layoffs, and shrinking savings, Wall Street's already flipped to Hedera HBAR, and that shift could either make you wealthy or leave you behind for good. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type "interested" in the comments, and I will give you a heart. Imagine this. You've spent 30 years doing everything right. You worked hard, saved what you could, trusted the banks, the system, your retirement plan. But lately, everything feels like it's slipping. The grocery bill's doubled, your dollar's shrinking, your savings account pays less than a cup of coffee, and your retirement, that dream of peace, keeps getting pushed back. Now imagine waking up one morning to realize Wall Street just flipped the game and didn't even bother to tell you. That's what's happening right now. While millions of Americans are tightening their belts and praying their 401ks survive another rate hike, the biggest financial institutions on the planet, JP Morgan, NASDAQ, BlackRock, are quietly moving into one asset they swore they'd never touch: Hedera HBAR. Why? Because they know the system that made them rich is dying, and they've already found its replacement. Let's be blunt. Bitcoin was revolutionary. Yes, Ethereum opened new doors, but those networks are old, inefficient, and expensive. They're like fax machines in an age of fiber optics. Hedera is different, faster, greener, built for governments and banks, not hype and memes. And while the average person argues about politics and grocery prices, the elites are quietly building their new digital financial order, one that doesn't need cash, middlemen, or even traditional banks. The scary part? You won't be invited in unless you move before they lock the doors. This is where it hits home. When the dollar weakens, you feel it in your gas bill. When the Fed raises rates, your mortgage gets heavier. When Wall Street moves to digital assets like Hedera, it's your retirement that gets left behind. Because here's what most people don't realize. These new Hedera-based ETFs that just launched, they aren't just another crypto trend. They're pipelines, quiet channels through which institutional money floods into the new system. In just 3 days, one Hedera ETF bought over 262 million HBAR tokens. That's more than $250 million in supply removed from circulation almost overnight. And when Grayscale and other funds join in, the demand could skyrocket beyond anything we've seen since Bitcoin's 2017 explosion. But there's a difference this time. This isn't retail investors guessing. It's regulated, calculated, strategic. And the worst part? You're not supposed to notice. Because while you're waiting for inflation to calm down or Social Security to adjust, the infrastructure of money itself is being rewritten without a vote, without a debate, and without you. Mance Harmon, Hedera's co-founder, didn't mince words in his recent address. He called this ETF the next chapter of regulated digital finance. Translation? The future financial system, from your pension fund to your grocery payment, will run on digital rails. Hedera's rails. So ask yourself this. If your paycheck, your taxes, your medical records, and your retirement savings all run through one digital ecosystem, who really holds the power? The answer isn't Washington anymore. It's whoever controls the network. And right now, that network isn't Ethereum. It's Hedera. This isn't a warning just for investors. It's a wake-up call for every working American who still believes the market will take care of them, because the market already moved on. And in part 2, we're going to dig into the part they really don't want you to see: how this quiet migration could make or break your financial freedom, and why the next 12 months could decide who thrives and who gets left holding the old system's bag. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The financial system you grew up trusting is being replaced, and it's happening faster than most people can comprehend. Remember when retirement meant peace of mind? When your pension, your 401k, and Social Security were supposed to guarantee stability? Well, that foundation is cracking because the money those systems rely on is changing form. And if you're not paying attention, your life savings might be sitting in an economy that doesn't even exist 5 years from now. Let me explain. Every time you swipe your debit card, transfer money, or cash a check, your transaction travels through a web of outdated systems. SWIFT, ACH, Fedwire networks designed half a century ago. They're slow, expensive, and vulnerable. So global banks, regulators, and governments are moving to something new: tokenized money. And this is where Hedera HBAR steps in. While everyone was busy speculating on meme coins and chasing ETF headlines, Hedera quietly became ISO 20022 compliant, meaning it's now one of the few digital networks that can legally and securely interact with banks, payment processors, and even central banks. Think about what that means for your future. When your retirement fund shifts into tokenized assets, when your paycheck becomes programmable, when your mortgage payments are settled on-chain, those transactions need rails that are stable, sustainable, and secure. Hedera's rails. And guess who's already testing them? Not some tiny startup, the Bank of England, Fisk Global, and Standard Bank, among others. These aren't risk takers, they're legacy builders. They're not chasing hype, they're constructing the next era of money movement. But here's where it gets terrifying. When institutions flip to Hedera, they don't announce it to the public. They just start reallocating liquidity billions at a time behind closed doors. That's why you didn't hear about Canary Capital's ETF swallowing 262 million HBAR tokens in 3 days. Or the grayscale Hedera ETF now preparing to launch, which could trigger another buying frenzy, only this time the retail investor will be the last to enter. By the time the news hits CNBC, the big players will already have filled their bags. Now ask yourself, if the financial system migrates to Hedera rails, but your money is still parked in the old system, where does that leave you? Because when new infrastructure replaces old, value doesn't stay put. It moves quietly, and it doesn't wait for the average person to catch up. This is the same pattern we saw with Bitcoin in 2012, Ethereum in 2016, and AI stocks in 2023. The insiders moved first, the public moved late, and the wealth gap exploded. Hedera could be the next iteration of that story, but on a global scale. Now, let's make this personal. If Hedera becomes the backbone for digital assets, then every pension fund, mutual fund, and government-backed program will rely on it to settle value. Meaning your retirement security will depend on whether you understood this transition early or ignored it until it was too late. The question isn't if the world will switch to digital rails, it's how fast. And based on the pace of these ETF approvals, the pilot programs, and the enterprise integrations, it's clear the new system is already live. But here's the catch. The profits from this shift won't go to savers. They'll go to holders. So while you're trying to stretch your paycheck in an economy built on debt, others are quietly positioning in a system built on tokenized value, the kind that compounds as old money fades. And when this transformation hits full scale, the people who understood Hedera's role early won't just survive the new economy. They'll own it. In Part 3, we'll go deeper into the precise reason why Hedera's efficiency, governance, and global alliances could make it the digital backbone of the next financial world, and why the window to act is closing faster than anyone realizes. If you've ever wondered what the calm before a financial storm feels like, this is it. Most people don't see it yet, the shift, the rewiring, the quiet handoff from old money to new rails. But when it hits, it won't look like a crash. It'll look like opportunity for the few who were paying attention. Here's what's unfolding behind the curtain. The same companies that built the backbone of the internet, Google, IBM, LG, Boeing, and Standard Bank, are now governing Hedera. Not investing in it, not testing it, governing it. That means they sit on the council that controls its code, its upgrades, and its infrastructure. Why does that matter? Because this isn't another speculative coin, it's an enterprise-grade digital network backed by corporations that already run the global economy. When the founder of Hedera, Mance Harmon, said, "We built this for institutions, not speculation," he wasn't bragging. He was revealing the playbook. And now, that playbook is in motion. The first wave was the ETF approval validation that HBAR isn't just crypto anymore, it's a regulated digital asset. The next wave is integration governments, banks, and fintechs quietly embedding Hedera's Hashgraph technology into their financial pipeline. Do you remember what happened when Bitcoin ETFs launched? Billions flowed in within weeks. Now imagine that, but with banks, hedge funds, and entire governments building directly on the network itself. That's what Hedera's positioning for. And here's the kicker. This isn't about the price of HBAR tomorrow. It's about what happens when your entire financial identity, from your paycheck to your mortgage to your medical records, becomes tokenized. Let that sink in. The money in your account, the deed to your house, the bonds in your retirement portfolio, all represented as tokens. Secure, traceable, programmable. And the ledger verifying those tokens? That's Hedera. But here's the dark side. When everything becomes tokenized, control follows the code. Whoever controls the infrastructure controls the flow of value. So ask yourself, are you positioned where control is moving? Or are you still holding assets tied to the old system that's being phased out? Because once this switch flips, it won't matter how many hours you work, how hard you save, or how loyal you've been to your bank, the value will have already migrated. Quietly, permanently. But there's also light in this story if you see it early enough. Owning HBAR right now isn't about gambling on a coin. It's about owning a piece of the new system itself. It's like owning the digital rails before the trains start running. Once the flow begins, once institutional liquidity, tokenized real estate, carbon markets, and government bonds start moving through Hedera, the network will no longer be a hidden gem. It'll be the financial internet. And you'll either be an observer or a participant. So here's the decision that separates the two. Do you wait until the headlines say HBAR hits $1? Or do you move before the crowd when it's still invisible to most? Because every time the system changes, there's a window, a small one, where average people can make generational wealth before the door shuts. That window doesn't stay open long, and right now, it's open for Hedera. The question isn't whether this shift will happen, it's whether you'll be on the right side of it when it does. Because history doesn't repeat it, just rhymes with new technology. And for the first time since Bitcoin, the melody's playing again. And this time, the rhythm belongs to Hedera.